Welcome to episode 51 of the 24-Hour Hustle Show, and today we got special guest, speaker, writer, and author D. Angel. Welcome to the 24-Hour Hustle Show. I'm your host, Anthony Freeze, and this is the show where we get the opportunity to sit down with amazing guests and find out about their stories, their struggles, and also their success. If this is the very first time you are finding out about us, definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell so that you can get notified every single time I post. But today we got special guest author D. Angel on the show. Number one, I want to give out a shout out to Latia Brock for being able to put this together. If you have not seen her episode, definitely make sure you check that one out. She's definitely a good person, good friend of mine, been able to put this together. So she had recommended me to you. Got a chance to hear about your story a little bit, and then we got a chance to sit down over a cup of coffee over at Panera Bread, and we definitely got a chance to connect. And love your story. I feel like it's definitely motivating, inspiring. I feel like when people hear it, they will definitely be inspired by it. And it's definitely a really good redemption story, I feel like. And be able to write a book of your own and be able to pull this off, I think is phenomenal. So I'm definitely glad to be able to have you on the show and be able to get into the conversation. So welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no problem. So for people that may not know who you are yet, give us your name, your background, where you're from, where you grew up, and so we can let the people know where you're coming from.
Okay. My name is Author D. Angel, and I'm originally from New Jersey. I grew up there most of my life. Around the age of 18, I moved to Pittsburgh with my mom and my little brothers, and I've been here ever since.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So what brought you to Pittsburgh, or what inspired the move?
Well, it was mainly my mom. My mom wanted to move back home. My mom's originally from Pittsburgh, and I guess she wanted to change. She was tired of New Jersey, so we ended up packing it up, coming up here and moving to Homewood.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into your story a little bit of, because I know a number of years passed. I know you've been here in Pittsburgh for some time now. Mm-hmm. So tell us your story, of what inspired the book, how the concept came about, and just kind of get into the thick of things.
Well, one of the special things about the book is it's something I never intended on doing. I won't try to spoil it for the readers. I give a little bit of description of how it ended up coming to be. And then once it had a purpose, I started working on it more and more.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. So what would you say the book is about? For people that may not know, if you could give us like a brief synopsis or like what it's about or what inspired it.
Well, the book is kind of like a chapter out of my life, so to speak. I don't go into my whole life story because I want the book to be an inspiration and not just another hood book. See, a lot of guys, they want to tell all their street stories and all that other stuff included in the book. And I don't think, I wanted it to be in there. So, to me, it just reminded me of being upstate and in the cell with somebody and we telling each other street stories to show how much stuff we was doing out here. And that's not the message I wanted to send. Mm-hmm. So, excuse me, I tried to keep it simple and only include certain things that, supported the book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that, happened was one of the things that we talked about was you did get incarcerated for whatever reason, but one of the things that really impacted me is how you've been able to turn things around and be able to write this book. Not a lot of people could say they've been able to do that. Like what I said before when we sat down, that's a huge milestone. And you should definitely be proud of it and own up to it a lot more, because I'm telling you, it's a really big thing. So what was it like, whenever you did come up with the concept of the book, and what was like the moment that you would say that made you want to turn things around?
One of the moments that made me want to turn things around was I was upstate and I was in the cell. I was in the hole. I had gotten to another fight and I I had got a letter from my daughter. At the time, I believe she was about 7 years old. And, I'm reading the letter, and what rocked me was, the fact that, the end of the letter, she said, "Okay, Dad, recess is over, so I will talk to you later. Love you." And that hit me to the core because it was like, here's my daughter who's 7 years old, and she's taking time off from recess while all the other kids are playing to write her selfish dad who's upstate and in prison. So that's one of the things that really started to wake me up.
And at what point did you say to yourself, "Man, I really want to write a book," or what inspired you to get to the point where you actually want to write this book?
After it started flowing and I started seeing what it was becoming, I started getting idea, hey, this could help somebody else. Maybe me telling my story might inspire others. Maybe I could be an inspiration. Maybe I could help guys like me that going back and forth to prison, that are coming home, don't know what to do, afraid, don't have the confidence to go out there and get a job, thinking that your record is always going to hold you back. It doesn't always have to be that way, but the first thing you have to do is change how you see things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge thing for sure. And one of the things that I always tell people, one of the things that influences our mindset is the things that we read. And the fact that you've been able to write this book and be able to give that to people to be able to read, be inspired by it, be motivated by it is a huge influence over people. And I feel like if people get the chance to, check it out and read it, get a chance to, find out what it's about and how it can potentially inspire them, I think it's hugely impactful for sure. And also even be able to have you here now, being able to share your story where people can actually see you, hear it, and then also be able to promote it out to the world for people to be able to hear. It's huge. It's definitely impactful. So what was the process like whenever you did start to write the book? At what point in time did you actually get a chance to start writing the book?
It started in my basement, man, and once I kept going, that first night when I first started writing, I think I probably only came out my basement just to make coffee and feed my dog, man.
Right.
I mean, I just stayed downstairs I just kept making pots of coffee and just staying downstairs and writing, rewriting, and it just kept flowing. It just started flowing, and what was the other part you were saying?
So just what inspired it, and just what was the process like in writing the book? Because I know writing the book is definitely a hard task. So what was the process like for you whenever you got the chance to write it? And what point in time did you start to write it?
It was it takes up some time.
Yeah.
It was, although the book is not a giant book, there were still days, I spent in that basement probably 12 hours, just working, thinking, and just looking over my life, looking where I came from. And, I work, I do construction, and I got kids. And as you know, I got a teenager that stays with me. So, it was difficult to juggle my time, between everything. But one of the major parts that happened was I remember I was about to turn in the book. I was so tired of it, just looking at it, just reading it. I tried to edit it myself. That didn't work. If you go and do a book, get you an editor and just pay the money, man.
Right.
Listen, I spent some weeks just racking my brain, thinking, okay, all I need to do is hit spell check.
Right.
This thing gonna be ready.
Just highlight the whole thing and just go through it.
We ready. Then, you hit that button, you see all these little lines, oh, man. So, another thing, too, is when you're trying to quote somebody or cite something, there's certain ways you got to do it, all that stuff. So it was like, man, I just got to let somebody else edit it. Let me just write. So anybody that's looking to write a book, my suggestion to you, my advice would be to just write and let somebody else that's a professional do the work for you. Just write. Just write what comes to mind. You don't have to worry about all the punctuation, all that stuff. Just let it flow first.
Absolutely. And what would you say was maybe even in addition to that, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges or struggles that you faced in the beginning of writing the book that you faced in the beginning, and how did you overcome that? Maybe in addition to the editing process.
Some of the things is I got a little bit of controversy involved in the book.
Okay.
You know, some of the subjects I talk about, religion, violence in our cities, police brutality, a lot of subjects that's probably going to rub people the wrong way. And so a lot of our people especially, you know, they're so used to seeing the typical black man. You know, he comes out, he says all the stuff that, you know, is happening to us. This is what the white man is doing. And, you know, he digs up all this stuff from the past and gets everybody riled up and angry, but they're not giving no solutions. They're all on the same platform. You know, they just want to talk about racism instead of making solutions about what we should be doing as a people and how we can, you know, better ourselves. So.
Absolutely. And what about like the writing process, like maybe like the late nights, or how did you manage your time as far as being able to write this book? Because you said you were also working as well as writing the book at the same time. So how did you manage your time to get this book out?
Man, it was tough. Like I was saying, I was towards the end where I was tired of the book, and I was working, and you know the kids. You know, picking my son up from practice, picking my other kids up from daycare. It was getting to the point I was just sick of it, like, man, I just want to put it out. And then, you know, I got hurt leaving work one day. I tore my shoulder. And, you know, so I ended up being off work for a good amount of time. And what that did was give me my mornings to work on the book and write more and think about what I was putting in this book. Mm-hmm. And I had that time, and then right after that, I was about to go back to work. I got into like 2 minor car accidents where my job wouldn't let me go back. So sometimes I look at things as coincidence. I don't know if that was God saying, you stay still and you write your book. Mm-hmm. I know I crashed you up, but, you know.
Right. Had to put you on the sideline for a little bit.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm a firm believer sometimes in things not always being just a coincidence. Sometimes things happen for a reason.
Absolutely. I totally believe in that too. I think when I told you before when we sat down, like one of the biggest things that I feel like whenever we're going through life and we're going through these different challenges and adversities and things that get us frustrated, like in the moment, it really, it may get us upset and emotional and things like that. But in hindsight, it's almost like the things that were the milestones that set you up for even greater things.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely, because I remember I was ready to turn the book in. I'm like, you know, I'm tired of dealing with this. This is just a headache sometimes. It's frustrating. And I said, let me look over it one more time before I email, you know, this publishing company this copy. Mm-hmm. And I looked at the script, and I thought, man, you know, I've been too distracted. I looked at it, and I wasn't pleased with it. I wasn't impressed. And, you know, all the mistakes, you know, again, get yourself an editor if you're going to write a book, man. And I looked at all the stuff I had wrong, and I was like, man, I'm about to turn in something that's just, like, I could do better than this. Mm-hmm. And so I took that time that I was off and just kept working on it, worked on the cover. I still didn't have the title yet. Mm-hmm. So I was working on a lot, man. Mm-hmm. You know, it's unfortunate that it took me that long, but I finally got it together. Everything
has its time. I mean, I would say it came out when it was needed. So
that's true.
So, you know, it's definitely a process. So even speaking about the title, I definitely love the title. I think it's really creative. How did you come up with the title?
It was it was funny because a friend of mine that I talk about in the book that was killed by a policeman, you know, one of his last things he said to me right before he was killed was, hey, what's the title of your book going to be? Mm-hmm. And I still was undecided. And I just kept thinking about it because that was like the last thing he said to me. Man, you know, what are you going to name your book? And I started thinking about all the stuff I had went through. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, man, you know, one day I think my grandmother said to me, you know, you can't have a testimony without being tested. And some of that started to play around in my mind, and I tried to relax about it, like, it'll come to me. And one day, through the test of time, just popped in my mind, and I said, man, this is perfect for this. This is definitely perfect for this. So that's how it came about.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's one of the things that we all have in common, no matter what, is we all have that same time that we all go through. Actually, it's funny, like that's almost one of the, similar to one of the reasons why I call the show the 24-Hour Hustle Show, is because we all got the same 24 hours in a day. We all can maximize on our time to be able to pursue the things that we want. So how can we actually maximize on that? So with your title, Through the Test of Time, man, that's like perfect. Like I love it, because we all do go through those challenges, and we all do get tested in those certain moments. And like I said before, in those moments, like we feel like we get emotional about it, or we don't know what's ahead, or we don't know what's coming. But it truly is some of those moments that are setting you up for greater things. And I've said this on the show multiple times. One of my favorite quotes of all time by Zig Ziglar. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It was I think it was in Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. In that book, he talks about, or what I'm talking about here is, no matter the struggle or adversity or challenge you may be going through, it equals or has the seed of an equal or greater benefit. And I truly believe that. I feel like if you feel like you're going through a challenge that's really tough or really hard, there's got to be something on the opposite of that will equal the same amount of greatness that could come out of it. So I'm a big believer in that. So sometimes when I go through a challenge or a struggle, and I may get frustrated or mad, and sometimes I just gotta sit back and take a moment and just think, okay, let me get myself together. Something greater has got to be able to come out of this. So, and you could just flip the script. And I feel like you definitely have, because like I said before, not a lot of people could say they had the opportunity to write their own book and be able to put that out there, because this is something that'll be able to not only be through the test of time, but this will be able to live throughout the rest of time.
Sir.
So that's a great accomplishment. So even moving forward a little bit more, what was the process like as far as like getting the book out there? Because I know some people, may have a book written or they want to get it out there. So what is the process like for publishing, or who did you go with? How did you find them and things like that?
Well, a lot of independent authors, they kind of go one or two ways. They'll either, buy a publishing package, or they'll try to get it out there themselves and make the deals with different sites, where they want to sell their book. Me personally, I felt like it was just easier to buy the package and have them set everything up for me to find my book on different websites and ebooks, like in the store, like the iBook store, Kindle, all that stuff.
Okay. So what's the publishing company name, and how did you find them?
They're called Lulu.
Okay.
I was looking through and looking at different publishing companies, and I stumbled on them, and I was looking at them, and then it came to me that they were the ones that helped get that book 50 Shades of Grey out. So I kind of looked at the numbers. When you're picking out a publishing company, you want to know what your royalties are going to be. What are you splitting with this company? What's your book going to be available? I mean, like the price on different websites, because your book might be one price at your publishing company, but maybe on Amazon, it could be a different price, or you could be getting a smaller royalty or a bigger royalty. So you always got to check some of that stuff out when you start picking and choosing a publishing company. And
what kind of things do they give you whenever you are publishing? Did they, I can't remember or not, but did they help you create the cover, or you got that through somewhere else?
At first, I had them helping me to create the cover, and what I didn't kind of like was the fact that I couldn't talk to nobody face to face. Now, there was nothing wrong. They had people to help me, but everything was just kind of like through email and phone.
Right.
So I was like, I wanted somebody I can talk to more about doing the cover. Actually, I went through two processes. After that, I was talking to a guy, and we couldn't come up with a deal to make it work for the cover. So I ended up going another route and dealing with another guy, and he helped me get my cover together. This guy named Josh. He's pretty good.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and I do like the cover. It's definitely good artwork for sure. So what were some like other things that they gave you? Did they help distribute it and things like that? Or like, where did they help distribute it in the different places? Like, is it in different like retail stores or anything like that?
All online.
All online. Okay.
Yeah, that's what they help. That's what they help do. They offer it on. They help offer it on on different sites.
Okay.
Like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Kobo, stuff like that. You can get the ebook or print version on all of these websites. So
Awesome. Now, do you have your own website as well?
I do, but I've been working on it, so I've taken it down at the moment.
Okay.
So right now, until I get that straightened out how I want it, it's
Under
gonna
construction.
Yeah, it's under construction.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that. But that's awesome. So what are some of the big things that you want to have maybe impact with the book? Where do you see the book going? Where do you see it taking you? What's your process of like, since it's now that it's out, where do you want to go with it?
Man, I feel like, sky's the limit. I just in the beginning writing it, I didn't know where I might be with it. Like I'm looking at where I'm at now, and how I've been able to help people do speaking engagements. Where I want to see it go, my goal is to get into these prisons, get to these guys before they get home, and give them something to think about. Everything doesn't always have to register right at that time, but maybe having my book, a few years or right even before you're coming home or even just coming home, I like to see those guys get to read it and say, hey, if this guy can change his life around after all the stuff he's done, so can I. So that's what I want guys to feel when they read it. It's like, man, this isn't the end. Me going back and forth to prison doesn't have to be my life. I can actually start over, and be somebody completely new, because that's what it becomes. It becomes a process of becoming a whole new person. All those old habits you had, they've got to die off, and you got to become a whole new person. And it's hard work, but you got to be consistent. And it's not like it's going to take, a few months. It could take years for you to erase a lot of bad habits that you've been doing since, either a kid or a teenager. And, that's been the process for me. When I was 12 years old, I was already selling drugs. And so, I sold weed, I sold coke, crack. And, I lived that way a long time until I got incarcerated. And, so I'm 40 now. And, I still got some habits that I need to change about myself. So it's an ongoing process. It doesn't have to stop and become a complete change. It can just be a growing process. You just got to keep growing.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you gotten an opportunity yet to get into any of these prisons and talk to people?
Right now, that's what I'm working on.
Okay.
Getting the book distributed and talking to some of the people that's running these prisons. I tell you what, it's easy to get in prison, but it's easy to get there, but it's harder to come there and do the work I want to do. So.
What are some of the challenges or roadblocks you're faced with that?
Just all the security, and they want to go through all the process. And,
okay.
What's your book? They got to screen your book and, do your background. And, they're just, real tight.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a really great idea. I mean, they, I feel like, being able to get in there and talk to them and also even be able to provide the book for them to be able to read once they get out, I think it would be like a nice little starter kit to kind of send them, to get to maybe to change their ways a little bit or to see someone else be able to make it and things like that, just to be able to give them, some hope and some inspiration and some motivation to say, like you said, if he could do it, I could do it too. So I think that'll be something great if you're able to pull it off, and I think you can. You just got to stay at it.
Keep at it, yeah.
Absolutely. So what are some of the other things that you may be looking to do in the future? Are you maybe looking to write more books, more speaking engagements? What's that process looking like for you?
The book I'm kind of putting to the side right now. I think my work should be more into the speaking engagements. I forgot to say too, I want to speak to the troubled youth as well, get into these juvenile detention centers and these prisons and talk to those guys as well. Maybe I can help change somebody before it's too late. So,
absolutely.
But, I want to hold these engagements and And the prisons just seem to be, that's where I need to be at.
So if somebody was watching right now that may be in a similar situation or a negative or toxic environment that they want to get out of, what would be like the biggest message that you would want to get across to them that maybe change their mindset on something or something that may inspire them? What would you say to them if they were watching this right now?
I would say to them, take a look around you and see the things that you are able to change. Some things you can remove, some things you can't. Remove as much of the toxic environment out as you can. Maybe it's the people you hang with. Maybe it's where you're staying at. These are some of the things you got to think about working on daily. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, toxic environment definitely is a big one. People you associate with, that's huge. I feel like that's like number one on the list. If like you want to change your situation, you should probably change the people you hang with.
Yeah.
Just depending on their situation and how they are moving through life. If it's the lifestyle that you don't want or are trying to get away from, maybe you should slowly distance yourself away from those people. You don't necessarily gotta cut them out of your life if they're like not 100% like something like terrible, but for the most part, just distance yourself away from them and try to associate with people that maybe are in life where you want to be.
Yeah, because I know a lot of guys who they come home and they don't necessarily have to be doing anything wrong, but they hanging with people they're doing wrong. You don't have to be the one doing something to involve you. How they say you're getting guilty by association sometimes. It doesn't always have to be you with the actions that's wrong. It could be the people you're hanging out with. You never know what they really got going on with their life. You ain't seen them in years. And, you could put yourself in a situation where you can go back to prison or you can go to prison. So that's a big thing right there.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's one of the reasons why there's almost like this revolving thing where it's like they come in and go out and come in and go out of prison multiple times?
Oh, yeah, it's hard. My first time getting out of prison, it had been close to, 6 years. And, you get home and, it's weird at first. And then you start catching up with people you ain't seen in a minute. They taking you out, That's what a lot of people do. When somebody comes home, take them out, take them to a bar, show them a good time, take them out to eat. And you start getting all these temptations, people might be around you smoking weed. You ain't supposed to be smoking weed. You're on parole. You're starting to see these women. Now, I've done it. You're breaking your curfew, to go out here and see women and, be in the spotlight and be around people and in all these social scenes. And, before you know it, you just keep getting comfortable until, they come shut stuff down on you.
Yeah, I totally understand that for sure. So also like what are some other things that you would say that maybe inspire somebody, or what are maybe some good tips that you would give somebody on top of association and maybe distancing yourself away from these type of people? What are some other things that you would say maybe helped you even along the way?
Some of the things that helped me along the way. It was a lot that helped me along the way. One of those things was trying to surround myself with good people and just staying focused on what I needed to do. As I talk about in the book, one of the things that also kept me grounded and going from, completely, off the way was, I had a son in CYF that I had to get out. And, I was still making mistakes and still messing around, but still in the back of my mind, I tried my hardest, like, I need to stay focused because this is what I need to do. I got to get my mans out of the situation he's in and show him something better. So.
All right, cool. And then, so like, and as we get closer to wrapping up, if there's something that we didn't get a chance to talk about or, say, or you didn't get a chance to say, is there like maybe like a big message that you're, looking to get across, or what's like the legacy that you're looking to leave behind? Or if somebody's watching right now, what's like the message that you're really looking to hammer in on? What would that be for you?
One of those things is responsibility. Taking responsibility for your actions. stop blaming everybody else. Stop giving everybody else the power by saying, I'm in this situation because of this person or because of that person is holding me back. Nobody's holding you back but you. So, always try to tell people too, blessings never come to a dark heart. You got to get a lot of the hate and anger out your heart about some of the things you went through in life, and take responsibility and say to yourself, what part did I play in this happening? So those are two things right there. I'd say.
That's definitely impactful for sure. And then last two questions: where would be the best place to get this phenomenal book that you got right now? Where would people be able to get this book, and where is maybe the best place for people to follow your work, contact you, and things like that?
Okay. Some of the places you can get the book, printed or ebook, is at Lulu's website. You can go to Amazon. You can go to Barnes & Noble and Kobo. And they all carry either the ebook or the printed version. It's also available at the iBook store. So you want to contact me, I'm on Facebook, Author D'Angel, and as well on Instagram.
Awesome. And then the last question I always ask people is, what is a 24-hour challenge that you would propose to the audience? Maybe somebody that may be going through tough times or a struggle or something like that. What would be a challenge that you would maybe give to them to maybe get themselves on the right track?
I would say take one of your habits that you're not benefiting from. Maybe it's being late to everywhere you need to go. I would say, look at some of the things that you can change, and little by little, it'll start to impact how you see life and how people view you, and that's when the change starts to take place.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Well, I definitely appreciate you for being able to be on the show, being able to share your story and things like that. Definitely, if you're watching right now, definitely check out Through the Test of Time.
Sir.
Definitely go to the website and check it out, all the different places that you could potentially get it. Check out his Facebook, his Instagram. Follow him on social media. He's definitely doing great things.
Grow, baby, grow.
Absolutely. That's what it's about. Definitely glad to have you on the show. So now that we're wrapping up now that we know what D'Angel does with his 24 hours, we want to know what you do with your 24 hours. If you got any questions at all for either me or him, definitely put them down below. If you have a question at all that maybe want to be featured on a future episode, definitely leave your questions down below as well. And as always, definitely make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications, share this as well, and we will see you on the next episode.